One of the things I treasure about this day is the opportunity to say thank you to people who have been particularly passionate and effective and successful in fighting on environment and oceans issues. And I've had the ability to thank a number of our heroes before, and my appreciation today is to Dennis Nixon. Dennis came to Rhode Island as a graduate student to get his degree in marine affairs from URI. He stayed with the university and has taught there and been an associate dean there. He has been very involved in trying to connect ocean science to admiralty law. He is an admiralty lawyer as well, and I think I had a lot of guidance and influence in the joint marine affairs and law program at Roger Williams University. I got to know Dennis when I was working late at the Attorney General's office one day, and I smelled oil in the air. And I called around to figure out what was going on, and it turned out that an oil tanker had run ashore off of Newport. And I thought, oh, man, what are we going to do? It was late, there was nobody around else in the Attorney General's office, but I remember the Exxon Valdez, and I knew that the Alaska AG's office would still be open because of the time change. So I called out to the Alaskan Attorney General's office and said, so what should we be doing? And then I got in the car and drove down to the scene of the wreck, and that way I got on Jim O'Neill's group dealing with that particular oil spill, and that's where I first encountered Dennis, who was brought in as an special assistant attorney general to help us work through those problems because of his expertise both in maritime law and ocean science. So a couple years later, when the North Cape and Scandia tug and barge array caught fire and washed ashore just off of Galilee, and all that oil got dumped, I went back and called Dennis again and said, you got to come in and help us a second time. He was a very important part of that team, which got the biggest fine ever paid in Rhode Island history against those guys for their negligence, and indeed a criminal tag on the company for what they had done. And so we made friends. Dennis has a theatrical flair that I admire immensely. Those of you who know exactly what I'm talking about. And he's a fellow small boat sailor, and he has done a terrific job now running Sea Grant, which is a terrific program that is one of the legacies of our terrific Senator Claiborne Pell. So I would like to present to Dennis a statement that I put into the Congressional Record on Wednesday, June 27th, a Senate tribute to Dennis Nixon. I won't read the whole damn thing, but I will say that his drive to ensure Rhode Island maintains its leadership in marine scholarship, development, and conservation is evident throughout his career. He cares deeply about ocean and coastal resources and fishermen, businesses, and communities that rely on these resources. He is even a fairly presentable sailor himself. The ocean state has benefited for over 40 years from Mr. Nixon's passion and leadership, and for his sincere dedication to Rhode Island coastal communities, I recognize and salute him. Dennis?
This is a particularly important honor for me because of the person who presented the award. The champion of the environment in the United States Senate, my good friend Sheldon Whitehouse. Thank you, Sheldon. I really appreciate it. To all of you younger folks in the room, looking around the room, way back when, Earth Day in 1970, it had a profound impact on me. I knew I was in college then. I said, I've got to figure out a way to somehow make this my career. Initially, I thought the seminary might be it, but this turned out to be a better thing. I had the opportunity to get involved in so many great issues over the past 4 decades, but certainly it was about 30 years ago when I met Senator Whitehouse, when we fought the good fight on that World Prodigy oil spill. We've had the opportunity to work together on so many issues since. It has been an exciting and really full career. The issues here in Narragansett Bay have been very important and special to me because after Earth Day, we passed things like the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, and in the past year or two, I've been quoted and sometimes criticized for saying that Narragansett Bay is cleaner and clearer than it's been since the start of the Industrial Revolution. That didn't happen overnight. It happened because of all of you and your predecessors in the environmental movement who led the cause to stop point source and non-point source pollution in Narragansett, or at least dramatically improve it to the point where we no longer have to worry about getting diseases if we swim in Narragansett Bay, where it doesn't smell bad anymore. When I grew up in Detroit, the Rouge River routinely caught on fire, like it did the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland, the Schuylkill in Philadelphia. I took as a matter of course, as a young teenager, sweeping off the sidewalk with the coal dust, because if the wind blew just right, the coal from Detroit Edison, before there were any air pollution regulations, the coal dust was simply a fact of life in communities around the industrial heartland. It's a lot better today. But darn it, as Barry has pointed out, as Michael has pointed out, they moved the goalposts. Just when I think we were, justifiably proud of what we've accomplished locally in Narragansett Bay, we now are facing the triple threat: climate change, sea level rise, and ocean acidification. It's an ugly triple threat, and one that is going to be even tougher to handle than eliminating those point and non-point source discharges. It is a tremendous challenge, but as I look around the room, I'm excited to see so many people here committed to working towards that end, and hopefully with the leadership of Senator Whitehouse continuing for a long time, we are going to win this war. Thanks very much.
I get to announce the lunch break now. If you look at the calendar for the day, you will see that Senator Murkowski is scheduled to speak at 1 o'clock. So I would be very grateful if you would pay her the courtesy of being back here maybe 12:50 or so that she can start on time and isn't having to speak to our melee. And we have sandwiches outside, and that leaves you about 50 minutes. But as we close the pre-lunch session, I want to take this opportunity to thank our keynote speakers. I doubt many of you knew who Kate Orff was before she came here. What the hell is a landscape architect doing talking about this stuff? I think you saw why the MacArthur Genius Grant folks picked her out and said, this is a very special person. And I'm very grateful to you, Kate, for what you've done, not just here today, but your work along the Gulf Coast and along the New York coast. If you haven't seen her work, it actually is sort of like cocktail table art book, beautiful stuff. And it combines first-class science, first-class policy, and beautiful presentation. So please. Barry Gold is one of my heroes. He has been, in his own quiet way, driving the private funding for oceans research for many years now. A great deal of the national progress that has been made on oceans resource, on regional ocean planning, on better use of resources, has had its embryonic point in things that he saw to the funding of. And now, in position at the Walton Family Foundation, he has considerable resources at his disposal and remains just as passionate about trying to drive these issues forward. So it was a personal pleasure to have Barry here as well. Thank you, sir. And Michael and I share a position in being way up on the you-know-what list of the fossil fuel industry. He got on it earlier than I did, and he got on it as a scientist. Scientists are not built to engage in political defense against falsehood and attacks and all that. That's not what you learn as you go through the process of science education. Lawyers, you know, you're kind of built for combat. That's what you're supposed to be able to do in a courtroom. Scientists are just supposed to diligently and carefully follow the truth. So when the fossil fuel industry started pounding on and calumniating Michael, he had to learn a whole new skill set. And to his credit, he did not just shrink from the barrage. He got mad, and he fought back, and he fought back extremely effectively. And a good deal of the counter pressure on the fossil fuel industry and a great deal of the exposure of the apparatus behind the misinformation. It's not enough for us to fight the misinformation. We've got to expose the apparatus behind the misinformation, and that has been a tenet of the unexpected part of Michael's career. So I'm so proud that he was here too. So thank you, Michael. Enjoy your lunch.